If you're dealing with acid reflux that seems to be induced by working out, this can be super annoying. You're trying to be healthy. Oh, I got a horrible pain now. This is something that I dealt with back when I lost my voice for 8 years due to reflux issues. And I would have this happen a lot when I was working out. I was working as a trainer, and even when I was helping other clients, it would happen sometimes. So in this video, I'm going to help you understand the most common underlying causes, steps you can take to improve the situation, and we'll talk about some of the stupid advice that's really common out there. Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So when we want to look at this exercise-induced acid reflux issue, we first need to understand a little bit about acid reflux. And right at the bottom of the esophagus here, there's called a lower esophageal sphincter, or an LES. And this is just like a sphincter or like a valve that kind of opens so food can come in. And then while we're digesting our food, this is meant to close to keep everything from coming back up. But it's not like a vault. This isn't like a vault lock, it's just like a sphincter. And so some people may not have that closing as effectively as others. And we'll talk about some reasons that that can happen. But if this is not closing super effectively, then anything that can create pressure here in this stomach is going to push things back up. That pressure is going to push that acid and things back up, and then we get a little bit burned. And also anything that can magnify the effects of gravity could push things back up. This is why a lot of people have more acid reflux when they lie down to go to sleep. So when we look at those two things, here's our stomach. If somebody's working out, and they're doing crazy bend-over-y things like that, then now we're going to get more pressure here in this stomach that could push things back up. And we can see the gravity's doing some things right there. I can't do that move at all. But even if somebody's just doing this move, there's gravity involved here. This has the ability, just bending over can cause more pressure here to push things up. But when this is the case, these things are not working optimally. There's things that are pushing this system kind of to the brink where you might be okay most of the time, but as soon as you magnify any type of pressure or anything, all of a sudden that's enough to create some trouble. So we want to understand why this is. And a lot of the bad advice out there is just like, oh, well, just don't eat any food anywhere near the time you're going to go work out, so that maybe you're starving and you'll pass out and hit your head on a weight bench. Or why don't you just wear really baggy clothes, because tight clothes are going to put more pressure on your stomach and push that stuff back up. And that's true. If while you're working to correct the actual underlying cause, if you want to wear looser clothes, that may help just a little bit, but it's not the answer to the problem. It's not the solution. And I've talked to a lot of girls who are like, I'm not going to wear a potato bag. I want to look good at the gym. So these are not the things that I view as real solutions. What we want to understand is what's going on that is restricting this valve from closing well enough that a person can bend over and pick up some dumbbells or touch their toes or do a jumpity jack or whatever it is that they're wanting to do without having this crazy acid come up and wow, now I'm on fire after one set of hippity hops. So what we want to look at is this valve here is actually triggered by stomach acid. And it's really common for a wide variety of reasons for someone not to be making enough stomach acid. So now they don't have enough stomach acid to trigger this valve to close efficiently, but they have a small amount, and now the small amount is going to come back up and burn them. So then they're told, oh, you have too much stomach acid. We just turn this off altogether, and then that'll remove that symptom. And now there's no acid there at all, so no acid comes back up and burns them. But we haven't really fixed the problem to get this to close correctly. So to get this valve to close, we have to acidify the stomach correctly so that it's enough to trigger that valve to close. So if you don't know if this is a problem for you, we'll put a link in the description below this video for our video on 10 signs of low stomach acid that can help you figure out, oh, maybe I do have low stomach acid, and increasing my stomach acid could trigger this to close correctly. So that's called hypochlorhydria. That's what low stomach acid is called in the medical world. Another problem can be a bacterial overgrowth here in the stomach, and this is really common, like an H. pylori or some other type of overgrowth. And when that's going on, these little varmints that are in there can put off gases, and these gases create more pressure, and that pressure pushes things up. So if there's a lot of gas in this stomach, even if it's not so much gas that the person's like, oh, I feel so bloated, why do I feel like I'm pregnant? I'm not pregnant, I'm a dude actually. So when that's going on, when there's a lot of gas in there, even if it's not enough to feel that gas, but when there's an increase in gas here, think about a balloon. If you just put a little bit of air in a balloon, you can kind of poke at it and it's fine. But if you blow it up all the way, you poke at it a little bit and it's kablammy, and then it scares your 3-year-old and she screams for an hour and a half. So the more gas in there, the more easily anything is going to push pressure back up and create that reflux. So anytime somebody bends over and puts more pressure on their stomach, anytime someone tightens their stomach to do some type of hard exercise, a lot of times we have to hold our core sturdy while we're doing specific exercises. So that may be enough to tighten that area up and create some pressure to push some things back up. So we want to take care of any overgrowth within the stomach that's creating all this excess gas. And a problem is, a lot of times this overgrowth can move down here and be down here in the small intestine, or a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO, like all the cool kids call it. And if there's a lot of gas being created in this small intestine, that has the ability to create more bloating for some people. It has the ability to create more flatulence for some people going out the back door. But for some people, that gas will come back up and they'll create more burping or acid reflux type problems because that gas is creating excess pressure, pushing things back up. So if there's an overgrowth, that has to be taken care of. It's also possible for someone to have what's called a hiatal hernia, where that LES valve takes place, this can kind of tear a little bit here in the diaphragm. A lot of things can create that. And then this, esophagus and the stomach will get pulled up into the diaphragm a little bit. Well, now the LES valve is displaced and things can get a little jacked up, and then it's not going to close correctly. So even if someone's making enough stomach acid to trigger the valve to close, if things are kind of jacked up, it might not close properly and then acid can come back up. So then anything that's going to create pressure or increase the effects of gravity are going to push that acid back up when there's a hiatal hernia. This is part of the problem that I dealt with as well. If you think this might be a problem for you, we'll put a link in the description below for our video on how to fix a hiatal hernia, and you can dig into that a little bit. So if any of these things are going on, they have to be fixed so that you're not getting this acid coming back up. So what we need to understand is, why wouldn't I be getting reflux most of the time except for when I exercise? So if somebody's just on a fence, maybe they have a mild overgrowth, maybe they're making enough stomach acid, but it's not enough to trigger it to close super effectively. It just closes pretty well. So if somebody is working out, they're putting a lot of the body's blood flow to their extremities, these extremities that they're using for that workout. So that can reduce the blood flow that's going to that digestive system. And also, we like to digest our food in what's called the parasympathetic state of our autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system just kind of runs a lot of the show behind the curtains. And there's a sympathetic side and a parasympathetic side. But any kind of workout, especially when it's more intense, is pushing the body more into that sympathetic fight or flight mode. It's a stress on the body. A workout is a stress on the body. That's why we do it, so the body can recover and be a stronger body now. But sometimes people are already pushed too far into this state for other reasons. Maybe there's stress in their life, maybe their boss is a jerk, or maybe there's stress in the body that's going on for one reason or another. And maybe the body's way pushed into that sympathetic state. So then as soon as they start to do any type of exercise that magnifies the stress in that body a little bit, then they're pushed way too far into that sympathetic state, and now they don't have the ability to digest correctly. The body needs to be in a parasympathetic state to be able to create this hydrochloric acid or stomach acid so that we can trigger this valve up here to close correctly. So that could be one factor that just pushes somebody over the edge a little bit. Either of these things. And another thing to think about is just trigger foods for some people. For some people, like chocolate or coffee, they have the ability to just loosen this LES valve a little bit. A really high-fat meal can do that for some people as well. And again, this doesn't happen with everybody, but if you're having a chocolate coffee smoothie, shake thing before you go work out every day, you might want to see how you do if you leave that out. Do you have less acid reflux? Is that the one thing that's just pushing you over the edge just a little bit? But for most people, it's not about, oh, these are the foods that I need to avoid, or I got to wear big parachute pants and have a mullet like I did in the 80s. To see real relief, we want to fix the actual underlying cause of the reflux. And that's almost always going to either be a lack of stomach acid, some type of overgrowth that's pushing things back up. And incidentally, most of the time there's an overgrowth in the stomach because there was a lack of stomach acid. The overgrowth got in because the stomach acid is the barrier to the whole digestive tract. They're supposed to fry these bad guys when they come in on the food that we're eating. So it's really common to see low stomach acid and an overgrowth with the same individual. Or if a person has a hiatal hernia, they would need to do some work to correct that as well. But these are the things that need to be corrected so that then working out is not going to be enough to trigger the problem. This thing should be able to close tight enough that a person should be able to do these exercises without creating a reflux issue. So if you're new to this channel and you don't know how to correct digestive malfunctions, we'll put a link in the description below for our totally free digestion course, and that'll kind of walk you through figuring out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly and steps you can take to improve those. But right now, if you feel like you're having some reflux issues, even a little bit maybe when you're not working out as well, you can jump over and check out our video on why do I have acid reflux, and that'll walk you through some steps to try to correct that issue. I can't wait to hear about your results.